Hello, it's Tim here again from Manor Classics. Hope you're all well. We've recently shot a video about things to consider when you're looking at buying your first classic car. But what I want to move on to now is the benefits of buying a classic car. I always say to people who come and visit us here that buying a classic car, isn't just buying a car, it's about buying a piece of nostalgia. And that's what it's all about. Now, the pros and cons of that, in that the pros would be maybe your mum and dad had the car that you're looking at, or your grandparents maybe. The cons are, well, the car may well be 30, 40, 50 years old and everything that goes with that. So, first thing to remember, one of the benefits is it's a far more kind of visceral driving experience driving a classic car. You don't get much tech. So, take this MGB, for example. This is an early 70s model chrome bumper. You don't get any power assisted steering. You don't get any tech here in terms of a screen to touch. You don't get a 5 or 6 speed gearbox. It's certainly not an automatic gearbox in this one. So consequently, it's a fairly simple driving experience, but all the better for it. Far less distractions, but you've got to drive these cars, okay? So you've got to think about the gear change. You've got to think about when you let the clutch out. You've got to think about your braking distances, particularly when you're approaching junction or other traffic. You've got to think about when you overtake, you might not have as much performance as you used to in your modern day car. So it's all to do with getting used to driving a classic car. In my mind, to drive a car is a fantastic experience. A lot of modern day cars, you just jump in them and away you go. Like I say, you've got to think about something like this, even down to starting it in the morning. You've got this weird and wonderful thing here called a choke. Okay, so all you youngsters out there, maybe not used to chokes, early morning start, that's a prerequisite for getting the car started on a cold morning. And even on a warm morning, actually, as well. So that's the first point. Think about the car, think about the classic, and think about the lack of technology and how you're going to get used to that. So, in addition to the lack of technology with classics, what you've also got generally is more simple engineering that you get on modern day cars. So, have a look at this one over here, Charlotte. So, this is a Mini Moke. This is an A series. It's actually a 998cc engine in this. But look at it. It's so simple. Accessibility in this particular model, not too bad. In the standard Mini, it's pretty tight in here, but you've got plenty of space around here. I can actually see what you're working on. So modern day cars seem to have lots of covers over the engine bay. This one, everything's available here. You've got your little carb there, down there. You've got your air filter here. You've got your rocker cover, your plugs you can see here. And you've got your points and condenser down here as well, distributor. None of this typically would be workable on a modern day car, but here you can get to everything. So when you buy your first classic, try and get used to the mechanicals, try and get involved in doing a service on it maybe. Just get used to the way in which it works, and that'll help you when the car goes wrong, because that's the other thing with classics. It's not really a benefit, but it's part of the jeopardy of owning a classic car. They will go wrong at some stage. Okay, so one of the other benefits of buying a classic car is part supply, providing that you stick to one of the more staple classics, like this lovely Fiat 500. Part supply generally not too bad for these. Likewise for classic minis, likewise for 2CVs, likewise for Morris Minors. Generally speaking, British classics, you can get hold of the parts. Some of the parts for interiors, particularly on the 70s, Austins, Morrises and Fords, are becoming a little bit more tricky to find, but certainly for something like this, you can get most or not, if not all of the parts that you need to keep it on the road. So think about joining maybe a club for the cars as well. I know when I did my Fiat 500 up, there was a really good company over in Manchester that supplied everything that it needed, including panels. And there's a fantastic club scene as well for these as well. So think about that when you're looking at your classic, and don't be put off too much by the parts availability. So let's have a look at the cost of buying a classic car. Not as expensive as you might think. This lovely little MG midget, it was formerly a rubber bumper version, now it's a chrome bumper version. Going through our next auction, this will probably cost somewhere in the region of £5,000. Not too bad considering it's a lovely condition car. Lovely chrome bumpers. think back to what I said before. You've really got to drive this. There's no ABS, there's no air conditioners, no electric windows, no central locking. It's a really, really raw driving experience, and all the better for it. Parts availability, great for these. Okay, it's an MG. You tend to be able to get everything that you need. Budget-wise, £5,000, like I say. If you want something sporty but a bit cheaper, think about an MGF. You should be able to get a nice MGF for about £2,000. We've got a couple going through the auction, both no reserve. If MGF isn't your bag, think about something else. Potentially going through as a no reserve through the auction, potentially a great bargain for somebody. So £5,000 will buy this one. Think about £2,000 for an MGF, or have a look at our listing and see what else is on there. The other benefit of owning a classic car is you'll really stand out from the crowd. So not everyone will have one of these. So this lovely Beetle in this tremendous shade of green will really help you stand out from the crowd if that's what you want. Guided at somewhere between £5,000 and £6,000. It's certainly an eyeful in this colour. Beetle, ideal classic in my eyes. Simple to work on. You can still get the parts. Great club scene. Reasonably cheap to insure. I guess the main thing with Beetles that you want to watch is rot, particularly in the front footwell here, where they keep the spare wheel, just down there. Also the wings, the doors, and the tread boards down the side. But generally speaking, they're a pretty robust little classic to start off with. Not everybody's a cup of tea because the engine's in the back rather than up front, and people are a little bit wary of that, but no reason to be worried. Just a nice little classic for somebody. So to summarise everything I've talked about today, have a look at this. I think this is the epitome of a classic. So it's unique. You won't see many of these out on the road at all. Riley Elf Mark II, based on a Mini, of course, but you'll see substantially more Minis than you will do Riley Elves and its sister Wolseley Hornet. Lashings of chrome, great paintwork, lovely leather interior, if you can have a look at that, Charlotte. Walnut dash. Very, very nice little car, that. Yeah, so no technology in this, so no ABS, no power assisted steering, no electric windows. It's a very simple engineered car, 4-speed box, little 998 engine up front, but you can still get the parts for them because essentially it's a Mini underneath, both mechanical parts and also interior parts readily available. There's a great little club scene for these, both Riley Elves and Wolseley Hornets as well. The parts themselves are not too expensive, but think about your labour costs as well. Specialists now charging anywhere between £50 and £100 an hour to work on cars like this. So factor those in if you need any repairs doing. In addition, we've got the driving experience. Well, you're not going to win any land speed records in this one, but it handles superbly and it'll keep up with modern day traffic, no problem at all, which is what you need. Relatively easy to drive apart from that, and relatively simple to learn in terms of how these operate. The engine's very simple, very similar to the Mini Moco with there that I showed you earlier on. So, all in all, what you're looking for, benefits of a classic, you've got the driving experience, you've got the uniqueness of being something completely different. It gives you opportunity to learn about the engine and the mechanics and how these cars actually run and how they go. Think about your parts supply. Not too bad on classics like this. And above all, it's all about nostalgia. So my auntie used to have one of these in sky blue with a white roof, and we loved it. We used to go to school in it. So that's what that's all about with this car for me. But I'm sure each and every one of you will have your own memories. So I'll speak to you soon.